So can you tell me what inspired you to take radiology and why you switched from radiology to this amazing entrepreneurship?
I think it was God's grace and good luck that I had good people around me.
Some tips that how and what a person who starts a new hospital or a mega setup needs to keep in mind when they start a hospital.
So we got a project of putting up a tertiary care hospital in Ahmedabad, which was the first tertiary care hospital of Gujarat. It's today known as Sterling Hospital.
Oh,
So a couple of NRI friends told me that let's start something in insurance, and we started a company, which is Paramount.
What do you feel are the key things which they need to keep in mind while they are scaling up?
I can only say that healthcare industry is one of the largest industry in the world. Till now, I was not really a finance guy or an entrepreneur guy. This came to me by luck. Eventually, I met Mukesh Ambani.
oh.
So I was involved in the planning of Reliance Foundation totally.
Oh my God.
How the medical practitioners can go beyond treating illness and sickness to actually focusing on holistic health. I am your host Nehal Mota. Today we dive into the exceptional journeys of some doctors who've not only excelled in healthcare but also ventured into the space of entrepreneurship and have scaled their practice, scaled their businesses and turned out to be the most successful entrepreneurs in the healthcare sector. For this episode of Medical Monarchs, we have Dr. Nayan Shah with us. Dr. Nayan Shah is a founder and CEO of Paramount Health Group. Welcome, Dr. Nayan.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mukesh Gupta, obstetrician gynecologist from Reliance, Mumbai. Today, I'm here to discuss about an amazing story. Every doctor has a story to tell, the origin story, how and why he became the doctor, and how and why he reached the scales that he has reached. In the series of Medical Monarch, as rightly put forward by Nehal, we're going to be discussing this journey, which will inspire all the doctors like us to know and learn how to better serve whatever they are doing.
So, Dr. Nayan, first of all, welcome to Medical Monarchs. I just wanted to know what inspired you to be a doctor? And do you belong to a family of doctors and how this whole journey began?
Wow, I'm going back into my childhood. Thank you. I come from a very standard lower middle class family. We had no background. There was nobody in my family who was into medicine. Probably I was the first graduate. Anyway, I was a good student. So during SSC, at our time we had SSC, not 10th. So SSC I scored good marks. So went into a good college. I had to decide whether to take commerce or science. But people told me go in science, that is the in thing. So I went into science. After first year, I had to decide whether to take engineering or medicine. But in my childhood, I was fascinated by doctors giving me injections.
Oh.
So I thought, let us go into medicine, and I became a doctor. So I went into medicine and got admitted in JJ Hospital, Grant Medical College, and that's how my journey started.
So your journey starts from the iconic college, the JJ College, and you went on to become a radiologist, which is nowadays one of the most sought after subject. But in that era, radiology was actually very mesmerizing because the sources were limited, the facility was limited, the cost of practice was high, and then you went on to become a medical entrepreneur. So can you tell me what inspired you to take radiology and why you switched from radiology to this amazing entrepreneurship?
I had to choose radiology, not that I liked it, but it was a kind of compromise which I did. When I was in second MBBS, my father, I'm the only child, and my father was in a small business where he used to supply to textile mills. In those days, there was a very well-known Datta Samant strike.
Yeah, and all those textile industries shut down and
And we as family lost all of our money.
oh,
So, father, I being the only child, I said, Dad, I would support you and I will leave my studies and all that. My dad told me, at least to doctor to ban jao. So I said, okay. So in MBBS, I scored some marks and I was getting some surgical branches and radiology. I thought that if I take radiology, and that time it was non-clinical branch, that I can, in the afternoon hours, I can support my dad or my father. So I took up radiology. I was not aware that after my passing, I will require to invest in a place.
A lot of
I will have to
investment for the
buy a
radiology
machine, etc., etc., etc. I went into radiology and then I started liking radiology. So I was told by our teachers in JJ Hospital that after some time you should go and look at private practice as well. So after 1 year, I took my residency in Harkishan Das Hospital. That time they had the best of the Bombay's radiologists coming there. And to learn under them was a privilege and I could get in. So I learned there. And after 1 year, those same teachers told me that, Nayan, now you have to get out from here. I asked them why. So I said, now you go to Tata Hospital. That Tata will have all kinds of x-rays, whether cancer or non-cancer. But you will see so much stuff there. Whatever you had to learn here, you have learned. So now go to Tata. Again, I was fortunate to get my MD registration in Tata and a chief registrar post in Tata Hospital. So that's how I learned my radiology. At our time, it was dual MD, MD radiotherapy plus MD radiodiagnosis. But I concentrated on diagnosis. I was offered a full-time post in Tata Hospital, but being coming from a Gujarati Baniya family, I said, no, I will not do a job. I will do something on my own. So that's how I started my journey.
even several decades back, the challenges were the same. It is not just about entering into the medical school, but the challenges start after you get out. And as doctors, we all always see that we need to plan the things of how we create our own startup of a practice. In present day, there are a lot of these startup culture and a lot of these people who have created this incubating, industry where they help the startups. And at that era, as you rightly beautifully said, the teachers were the ones who were actually our guide for the startup.
So, how did you actually go about setting up your first diagnostic center? Because, like you said, capital, it's a very capital intensive kind of a field. So, how did you manage that first start?
Even before a diagnostic center, I had to earn, right? So I was married. I had to support my family, parents, as well as my wife, and I had eventually my children, etc. So I started doing freelancer radiologist job and got attached to various institutes where I would get paid per reading X-rays, etc., etc. Sonography was coming new that time, though in Tata we had a linear sonography first machine, but in private it was not very popular by then, or not.
Which is like a necessity in present day's practice, but it was a rarity when you started. It's an amazing.
No, then again, where to learn sonography? So I had a very good friend in the hospital where I'm going, Arogyanidhi Hospital, and a friend called Dr. Rajiv Rajan told me to go and learn sonography since I was good in radiology. So I told him that where will I go and learn? He had come back from UK and he was kind enough for me to organize an observer's post in UK for 3 months. I somehow found a relative to stay in London and went to UK and learned sonography and came back. After coming back, of course, I did not have money to buy a sonography machine.
So the skill was there, but the instruments and tools were missing.
So after a year or so, after I came back, one of my dad's friend came home and asked me, that time they used to call London Vilayat. Tu Vilayat jaake aaya? So I said, yes. Kya karke aaya? Then I told him that I've learned this and that and all that. So he was asking me, why can't you start? So I said, I don't have money. I can get bank loan, but I still need the
Guarantee.
1/4 of that sum to be paid as upfront. So next day he gave me the money. And one of my next door neighbor that time got a Maruti van, which has just come out. And a lot of people that time were selling off their allotment numbers or cards to make some extra money. So he asked me whether I know any doctor who would want a Maruti van. So I told him yes, but I want it, but I can't pay you. So I paid him in installment. He gave it to me. And that's how I started my practice.
So he was an exciting entrepreneur right from beginning, and he managed his funds right, and he got you got your VC funding from relative to the neighbors. Interesting.
I think it was God's grace and good luck that I had good people around me and good friends who gave me good advices. And that's how this began. And then there was no stopping. I learned sonography. I was doing sonography from Malad to Kolaba,
Oh my God.
with a portable
Which in
sonogram.
present day PCP Entity Act is not permissible. At that era, it was not
Yeah,
so.
that era it was not so. And anyway, so then I wanted to do something better and bigger. So then I had some further wish. So we 5 radiologists got together and brought the first private MRI machine into Mumbai. After having an MRI project, we were approached by a lot of other projects. My other colleagues in MRI were busy in their practice, but I was more ambitious. So we got a project of putting up a tertiary care hospital in Ahmedabad, which was the first tertiary care hospital of Gujarat. It's today known as Sterling Hospital.
Oh,
So
my God.
Sterling was built by us, and it was totally designed and kind of we imported all the equipments, etc., etc. But meanwhile, we had to go for IPO because we had to do a public issue. It was such a project.
what was your age at that time?
I'm born in 55 and this was say 90s.
Okay.
So 40.
40s.
Yeah. So we went for IPO. We filed in SEBI. It was a boom time. By the time we got permission, Harshad Mehta had appeared in the market. So it was a bad time. Our issue did not subscribe. And the lenders told us that whatever is not subscribed, you pay up as promoters. We were a group of 4 people. I was the only doctor. But 2 of them said, no, we don't want to kind of subscribe. So we sold out that project. But that took me into the hospital industry. And that was where I started knowing more and more about healthcare industry from different angles. Being a doctor, then diagnostic centers, then tertiary care hospitals. And then I had a lot of NRI shareholders that time. And in 96, they announced opening up of health insurance sectors. So a couple of NRI friends told me that let's start something in insurance. And we started a company which is Paramount TPA. Then it became a TPA and Paramount group of companies.
So in that short span at the beginning, you not only initiated the funding for your practice, but created scaling up from a simple diagnosing of X-rays to the sonographies to the MRI centers, created a group practice concept where you got people together on the table and created a cap table for all of them to participate together. And then you went on to do a larger forward integration of actually a center or a tertiary care center, and then went on to the final destination, the holy grail of creating an IPO and learning the whole journey. And that was the time when you switched to the next project. That's an interesting journey. Oh my God. There's more coming. There's more coming.
So in 99, we were approached. We had started this small company called for TPA activities. And in 99, PricewaterhouseCoopers came to our doors. And they asked me that they wanted to do our company's due diligence. We said, why do you want to do it? So there are some foreign companies interested in coming to India, etc., etc. So we said, fine, go ahead and do it because we had nothing to hide or anything. So after they did our due diligence, they came back and told us that the world's biggest or the giantest reinsurance company called Munich Re wanted to become our partner.
Oh my God. Which you must have guessed when PwC walks to your door.
No, Munich Re was never anticipated because they were the giant.
Okay, that's interesting.
The world's giant, kind of number 1 reinsurance company that time. So they wanted to come because health insurance they thought was opening up. And their idea was to design products and give reinsurance to all newer companies or anybody who wants it. Because a lot of startup companies don't have that kind of wherewithals or they don't have that kind of funds. So they need back-to-back insurance. So that is called reinsurance. And Munich was master in that. Munich, there are 2-3 companies like we know about Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway. That's also a reinsurance company. Munich Re also is a reinsurance. And Swiss Re.
Swiss Re, which is
so
also...
these are 3 top. There are many now, but these were the top.
So what happened? Did you get that?
Yeah, so we became a joint venture. And in year 2000, the business expanded so much that I had to decide whether I will continue my practice of MRI and mammography or leave that and get into this full time. And I decided to go to this because this was more creative. This was more challenging. Every day a newer thing was coming up, which would kind of, excite me. This MRI and mammography was becoming monotonous. You see the same thing again and again and again and again. This was becoming more creative, so I decided to plunge into creativity. Till now, I was not really a finance guy or an entrepreneur guy. This came to me by luck. But then I started learning everything. I read all the books, what are there in MBA course or etc. I did not
So you don't have to go to a management school like us. I did my course in IIM Calcutta. So you did not do any such courses.
I read all the books
That's
I
the message.
had to run my company as well. I did not have that time. Weekend classes were very less, or online classes, and I did not have time. By then, I had a family. I had to run my family. My father had passed away in 91, so I had to look after everything. Plus, this was expanding.
So this is an interesting fact. So what we learn from here is never say no, and then never say attitude right from the beginning. Whether there was the challenges in starting the practice, or to scale up the practice, or to look at diversification, or to understand the industry like an insider with domain knowledge of healthcare, when you start the participation in insurance, was a lesson to learn for everyone. So I think a lot of us, we always think that what if we fail? What if we fail? So we see that if we fear failure, we'll never be able to bounce back and grow better. This is what we learned from this initial journey. We have lots more to come.
Oh, there is something more now.
Oh my good Lord.
I'm sorry, but there is something more. In 2006, Munich Re's subsidiary company called DKV opened a health insurance company with Apollo.
Okay.
And the regulator would not allow Munich Re to become into insurance field as well as this. So they wanted our TPA, Paramount TPA, to be merged with Apollo. So I was not ready for that. So I told them that you buy me out. And they bought me out. Made me very happy. And I left Paramount for some time. The moment I left, I was approached by a friend, or I'd gone to meet a friend of mine, telling them that I'm leaving this field, etc., etc. So he said, no, hold on. You are not going anywhere. He made me meet somebody next day. After meeting them together, both of them said, you hold on, we want you to meet some other person next.
The classic story of the complexity of mergers and acquisition.
So anyway, I was free bird that time. So, then that meeting happened the next day, and I was appointed, I was given an offer, which I could not refuse. So I was...
And what was that offer? You're making us curious like a thriller movie, isn't it?
So
Yes.
Eventually I met Mukesh Ambani.
Oh.
Mukesh Bhai was that time working on the Harkishan Das Hospital.
Okay.
And he also had a mega plan, or Reliance had a mega plan of creating a parallel healthcare ecosystem into the country.
That's
And
interesting.
They were looking at somebody to run it. I was available, so I was given that part. So obviously I became head of HN. HN was being demolished that time and new building was coming up. So I was involved in the planning of Reliance Foundation totally, right from the beginning. Our architect was from Chicago, and we planned it. And today's Reliance Foundation Hospital or HN Hospital, I have contributed little bit into that as well as head of new healthcare initiatives of Mukesh Bhai. So I was with Reliance for 3 years, where I learned a lot. I learned a lot of business, how to do business, or what real business people think. My real learning of business came from there.
So, if I were to ask you some key learnings which you picked from Mukesh Bhai.
Or everybody wants to know that. You've really nailed that question.
Mukesh Bhai, of course, and there was his team. His team consisted not only Mukesh Bhai obviously was there, then in his team Manoj Modi was there, but I was reporting to a person called Mahesh Kamdar, and who is a part of their inner circle, and KV Subramaniam, who was heading Life Sciences, Reliance Life Sciences. I don't want to get into all the details, but I've learned a lot.
But you need to give some tips to our viewers about what they need to know. Maybe not the insider details, which is restricted by your secrecy clause, but some tips that how and what a person who starts a new hospital or a mega setup needs to keep in mind when they start a hospital.
See, everything revolves around money. Agreed? So, at one time, for constructing the new building, we were told that let us give an advertisement and give out on turnkey basis. There'll be some companies like L&T or Shapoorji Pallonji or some others will bid, and we advertised for constructing the complete building. We had plans and everything ready by then. So all the companies kind of bid, etc., etc. And when we analyzed the things, I was asked by the top team of Mukesh Bhai and said, then they are quoting, say, around 600 crores or so at that time. But we can do it at much cheaper level. Because in this 600 crores, there is a component of excise, certain taxation, etc., which they are going to charge to Reliance. But if we route through our own company, then we can save on those taxes legally. And our cost would come down by 2/3 or 1/3. So instead of 600, we would probably do it in 400 crores. And this was, I mean, being a doctor and coming out of, medical field, we don't know all this. So these are the kinds of learning where I was kind of asked that you start thinking of what you don't know. Start learning where you have never entered. And typically when it is your money, you have to know where your money is going. So there are many such instances. My room in Harkishan Das Hospital was next to one another gentleman who was the marketing person for Vimal, and he was Dhirubhai Ambani's very close person. So I also learned a lot of stories of how Vimal, Reliance, everybody came up, what hard work they had to do, what kind of imagination and thought processes they had. Phenomenal.
The only Vimal marketing campaign is still iconic.
They opened, I believe, 300 stores in 1 year across India. And every store, in some stores, helicopters would spread petals. That was in Bangalore. And that was done by the person who was sitting next to me. There are a lot of learnings.
So I think to summarize, he talked about the need for cost efficiency and looking at the value for your own money when you're investing, looking at how we can use our own awareness of ethical tax management, which probably we'll have to learn more from Nehal, how we have to learn what we are not aware, and we need to invest for that our time, efforts and energy. And last but not the least, if we don't care for our money, then who's going to care for our own money? That's an interesting learning. Over to you, sir.
Then we had an economic recession sometime. So Reliance deferred their mega project where we were planning to put around 700 hospitals across the country. As I said earlier, create a parallel healthcare ecosystem into the country with Reliance Retail into primary care and pharmacy chain and all that. So it was a mega project. But this was deferred. On other side, Munich Re could not manage Paramount. They could not sell Paramount. So they asked me to come back and gave that company back to me. And I also was not wanting to remain only in one hospital. I wanted to come back to more creativity and activities. So I came back to Paramount.
Some challenges which you faced while you were scaling up Paramount.
As I said, I left Paramount for 3 years, worked with Reliance, and that taught me a lot of stuff. After coming back, I was thinking what to do. I mean, okay, I got my company back and it started growing again, etc., etc. There are a couple of acquisition attempts. One was by L&T and another was by Tata Sons. But somehow those acquisitions could not happen. Not that I came out, but some circumstances it did not happen. And then I decided, no, okay, now let me concentrate on my business. So then I started expanding offshore. Now we have a joint venture in Bahrain, we have an office in Dubai and all that stuff. And our IT is there in about 11 countries already.
Oh, so when you came back to Paramount, you joined us in what capacity?
Full owner.
Oh,
Took back the company from Munich Re.
okay, hold on. This is a very interesting aspect. So when you gave it to them, you actually sold it to them and you took your earnings for profit for that. And when you got back, was it a loss-making proposition or was it, you had to pay them back, or how did you manage that?
No, what had happened was that after I left, Paramount went downhill. They brought an American CEO. An American CEO would do an email to all public sector chairmen that if you want to learn health insurance, take my appointment. So every public sector, which was a major business giver that time, depaneled Paramount. So the business drastically went down.
They did not understand the
They
Indian
did not
ecosystem and the Indian customer centricity.
Exactly. And at one time, they started going into losses. And they also needed to get out because IRDA or regulator of insurance told them, you can't have an insurance company as well as a TPA.
Yes.
You can only have one. So obviously they wanted to get out of TPA. They could not get any buyer. So they approached me. I told them that, look, whatever money you had given, they are all invested or spent or whatever it is. So I will value it the way I want to value it.
Yeah, the valuation is a process of the intrinsic,
They
extrinsic,
said,
and
forget
existing.
valuation. This is your company, you take it.
At least cut the losses.
But they had to kind of get out. And they knew me. Our relations were still very excellent. So I could get that company back at my terms and conditions.
Oh, that's brilliant. So, 2 lessons to learn from this. Number 1, that whatever you do, wherever you go, the knowledge and the exposure always helps you to get better. And if we continue learning, as he said, another important aspect is when you walk out of the door, never bang the door because you never know when you have to walk back in.
Yes. Very
That's
true.
interesting.
One key aspect which you said was that when you're scaling up your organization, finance is very important. So when did you first raise capital for Paramount and what was your experience like?
Actually, we have not raised capital for Paramount. The first time when Munich Re came in 99, which I talked about, they came with a lot of premium. And then the way we grew, we were always cash positive. So we did not need to raise any finance. In fact, even today, we have a good amount of reserves and we did not need to raise finance. But we may think of raising finance in near future for the projects which we have in mind, which we'll put in October or November. Or if we want to go for a health insurance plan company.
So you spoke about Fairfax coming in. So that was not through a fundraise?
No, in fact, this is now what I am told. Okay, I do not know whether it is right or wrong. But Fairfax, their chairman, Mr. Prem Vatsa, is very pro-India. He is an Indian, obviously, Indian origin guy. but he is considered Warren Buffett of Canada. And he has an empire world over of insurance industries. So I am told that he was asked to come to India in healthcare sector. And then he has his team. So his team decided, and being insurers, they were more wanting that who will have proper data. Because data is eventually the oil.
Data is the new oil.
So they approached us and said that they would want to do due diligence and whether I would be happy to meet Prem Vatsa or not. Now, who would say no to go and meet Prem Vatsa? So I met Prem Vatsa in Canada, and he said that he would like to join me, etc. And I did not mind that. I mean, because he had a very long-term vision that we want to do something in India for overall healthcare. It was not just a private equity fund or, that I want this IRR and after 5 years I want exit. It was never like that. They are a very long-term company. And I thought that we could have our vision together. And if I need a good backing, then Fairfax was the best company who could give me backing. So that's how now we are a JV with Fairfax. This happened in 2019.
Okay, so certain aspects about like from being a doctor to being an entrepreneur and also a family person. So how have you balanced your multiple roles and, when it comes to family,
I think my family has given a lot of sacrifices, specifically my wife, because I had to travel a lot. And I had two sons. Both were school going, and they were totally. I mean, I was always available weekends, etc., etc. But she looked after and really held our family together. My mother was also alive till 2011, but I would have to give her complete. What should I say? Without her, this would not have happened. Both my children are well settled now. Elder one is with me in Paramount. Younger one is in US, and he will stay in US. So we are a happy family.
What did they study?
They did not become doctors.
That's what many of the doctors would like to hear.
Yeah, both my elder one is a computer engineer and MBA, and younger one is also a computer engineer with his graduation in entrepreneurship and MBA. So not business lines, basically.
That's interesting. Neither medicine nor finance, but yet they are going to be with him.
Yeah.
So, what do you have to say about work-life balance? Is there something like a work-life balance? Because as doctors, most of them always have this challenge with balancing their practice, their family, taking time out for themselves.
It also depends on what kind of specialty a doctor is practicing. Some doctors, even if they want to, but they have to cater to emergencies in the night, which could affect the work-life balance, etc., etc. But if work-life balance is very, very important, then it is also important to unite and not possessive about my practice or my patient or this or that. Sometimes some patient may have to be treated by a close friend, and you can still enjoy your weekend vacation somewhere. So this way, the psychology of one's understanding of practice needs to get altered to an extent that practice is important, revenue is important, earning is important, but work-life balance also is equally important. And that is where if 5 same fraternity doctors come and unite, they can do wonders.
That's an interesting thought about not just about work-life balance, but also trying to find out relationship management with people in the industry. Now, my question here is that how do you balance your thought process when it comes to, like, Professor C.K. Prahlad, one of the pioneers when it comes to management studies in India, as an Indian in management, he would talk about core competency. And when we look at your journey, you were looking at the core competency as the healthcare sector. but you kept on diversifying and doing something which was actually much different than what you were originally trained to do with every step of your life. So, what is that secret that when you are doing something, how do you decide what next?
Okay. Good that you brought in CK Prahlad's name, because CK Prahlad sir was the strategic advisor to Reliance during the recession time. Okay. And he was the person who probably advised Reliance to remain on the core competence. And that is where all this horizontal expansion was kind of deferred. And that is where that mega project did not even progress.
Okay.
And that's where I was told, look after one hospital, which I was not prepared to, and I came out. But bottom of pyramid, what CK's
Yes.
basic philosophy is, whatever I have done is only in healthcare. And I believe that healthcare is not just treating a sick patient. Health has many, we talked about it, right? Promotion, prevention, protection, and cure with rehab.
I think this is interesting words. Can you just say that for the viewers, these 4 words, because that was off camera. You can say that again.
Healthcare management consists of mainly 4 areas: promotive health, preventive health, protective health, and curative health. Rehab becomes part of cure.
Curative.
And then you can apply it in different age band of, say, a life cycle of a person. So if you want old age care, we talk of old age homes or geriatrics, etc., etc. So for them, what is the promotive part? What will be promotive health for an elderly person? Or what is the preventive health for an elderly person? So that way you can do it for every age band. And this is what we have learned. We are basically a doctor. We started with physiology. We started with complete life cycle, and we are not utilizing that to cater to a larger market. So, as earlier I was telling you that we are targeting only on 2% of market, which is sick at any given time. But other 98% still want health. For example, a growing child, do we go and tell him, okay, are you becoming obese? Or what are your emotional issues when the child is becoming adolescence? We don't want to look at the normal physiology or normal way of growing healthier or becoming healthier. So all this is still our domain knowledge, and we are not using it. So if we start using it, we can generate more money for ourselves, we can be more happier, and we can have a better work-life balance.
That's an interesting learning from this segment that we learn. So, after invoking the great Guru C.K. Prahlad, actually he's now invoked the another greatest guru of strategy management, and that is none other than Michael Porter. He talked initially about how he created services for the people in the same center, and how you diversify more and more things to reach out to the people who are already there in that sector. But now it's also about customer segmentation. If we focus only on those 2% of the sick patients, we are missing out on those 98% larger population who are in need of appropriate services for their health when it comes to the question of health. And we are missing out on them. And I think that's very important. And we need to start focusing on small silos of each segment, whether it is a child, an adolescent, or an adult, or a geriatric population. That's very interesting learning from you, sir. That's a true monarch.
I guess that thought that only 2% of people at any point of time are sick, and right now doctors are catering to that sick people. But there are 98% people who would still need to always be in pink of health. And something can be done around health in a much broader term, rather than just looking at illness and sickness when you go to a doctor. And it would be a wonderful thought that young girls can actually start focusing on their health, and more importantly, their female, particularly their health from the school onwards. And that concept is not there. that you would start seeing a gynac very early on, and you would actually stay away from a lot of issues which would come in the later life. So, I guess if you can throw some light on how the medical practitioners can go beyond treating illness and sickness to actually focusing on holistic health.
See, I'm talking only of allopathy right now. If I bring in Ayush, then the scope becomes much, much, much wider. We are also talking of mental health or disability act, etc., etc. But Nehal, you look after people's money. So a medical practitioner can look after a family unit's health. You are a wealth manager, and you tell your clients that you will look after and monitor the wealth of that particular family, and you will help it in growing to whichever risk factor that person may have. Same way, we who have learned health, and medicine, I'm saying health and medicine, can look after a family unit's overall health requirement, and we can monitor the health. We can advise the family unit that, okay, this needs to be done. You may be a very busy person. How many times you receive a call from doctor or care manager that, ma'am, your X-ray test is necessary or your blood sugar needs to be checked. Can I organize this and send somebody to your home? And I will keep the records and I will monitor this, etc., etc. See, in a family unit, let us assume that there are elderly patients. One of them or both of them may have some chronic ailment. Who is monitoring that? Husband and spouse. What is happening? Are they becoming obese? Are they starting to have some kind of lifestyle disorder? What about children? Are they growing well? Is a child suddenly going down in his ranks? Is there some psychological problem happening? Adolescents, are they getting into drugs? Are they getting into right kind of way? I mean, there are many things which a medical practitioner who has the complete domain knowledge, but is not utilizing it. So how can you carve out a business product out of this? That is most crucial and critical. We talk of products, selling of products, etc. So let's carve out a product. And for that, there are many ways to do it. I think Dr. Gupta can advise on that very well. People, ideally medical practitioner, should think that you are not only practicing medicine to treat sickness. Bring in health concept or overall promotion of health, wellness concept, and you will make more money. You will be more happier, and you will have more patients coming to you. So every which way you will find yourself happier.
So that's the most interesting part. What we have learned truly here is that how we cannot just focus on the small bits and pieces of the immediate recent need, but look at the larger canvas of the overall holistic approach and the larger umbrella, where we have to look at the protective, preventive, and proactive approach in the healthcare. And only then can we carve out that interesting product that he was mentioning out, which is actually a pain point for all of us and the patients and their family members, but no one is paying attention to it. Although there are government programs to take into that in consideration, but when we talk about government programs and their implementation and the private sector, which is an amazingly more efficient system today in our Indian healthcare system for the larger population. I'm not taking away anything from the governmental projects, but yes, till date, it is the amalgamation of the private and the public partnership which is helping us. And we are looking forward for that product that you're coming to talk about. That concept of care manager that you talked about, which is actually narrowing down to what you are saying, is, can you elaborate on that concept of care manager?
Let's say it's very simple. Let's say I assign somebody, number one, first to assess your family's health. Then a panel of doctors will decide which are the focus areas. And then there will be various plans given to the family that these are what all things required. And there would be a lot of many other things added on this, that if you require appointment of Dr. Raman, we will get it for you. Concierge services, or whichever way you want, all all kinds of healthcare services can be given, and you will have one point focus for all your healthcare needs. Your records will be digitized. Your electronic medical records will be available whenever you want it. And there are so many things which can be given, and so many products can be designed according to the affordability of a family unit.
Well, that's a brilliant thought.
Second thing which comes in is that today our family unit is becoming smaller and smaller. And there are a lot of people who are going abroad for working, studying, and then settle there. But they're being Indian, they are still worried about their parents back home. So who is going to take care for them, which is not a kind of tout or a small vendor, which is a registered, recognized company, which gives them their wanted doctors.
That's so interesting.
So there is a huge market available. But medical fraternity has to start thinking on these business ideas.
I think what we learn from here is that it's high time that we start realizing the need of not just the existing residents in India, but also all those vast Indian diaspora across the world who will be needing a backup system which is reliable, trustworthy. And with the advent of AI and technology, it is much more easier to standardize the system, and the use of EMR systems, which also help us to create a track record of the health. And with this, we always think that when we have something like a family office for our investments and taking care of them, we need to have a family doctor, yes, but a family caretaker who connects us with our family doctor and takes care of us.
I'll give you a small example, Dr. Gupta here. I have a close friend in Sacramento. We were together in Grant Medical College, but then he went to US. He became specialist in emergency medicine and internal medicine. And then he grew up to the chief medical officer of a group of hospitals called Sutter Group of Hospitals. About 4 months back, he called me. Nayan, my mom is in Khar. He had his flat in Khar. And mom has come to Mumbai and she wants to go to see a movie. Can you go accompany her? For assisted living also, for elderly couples, you can't just send a Aya Bai or a ward boy because they need certain grooming, certain way of interacting with that elderly person, etc., etc. In US, it is very common that you get a good person for assisted living. In India, it is a vacuum. And there are so many people who need this kind of services. Even today, we talk only of old age homes. But what about their other needs? So, as medical fraternity, we are more aware of their not only social needs, but also medical needs. And we can prevent something happening to them. Can it be a business product for medical community? Yes, it can. But for that, a single person may not be able to cater to more than, say, some families. But if there are 20 doctors together for one area, they can come out with this product. And alternatively, they can take care of this thing. So their individual work-life balance also does not get disturbed.
So assisted living with an existing system of care bundles available globally, which can be incorporated very easily in our existing system, is something which we all need to sit back. That's an interesting idea, sir.
So next we move on to the segment of personal finance. So just to ask you that in your journey from being a doctor to an entrepreneur, having scaled your business, how have you been able to differentiate between your business finance and your personal finance?
My personal life and business were woven together. So, I mean, I did not inherit any money. Let's be very clear about it. I did not have any money. So there was no estate or no kind of funds which my dad left me for, or so whatever I was earning out of my activities, whether as a radiologist or as an entrepreneur, whatever I was getting was my finance. And you ask me what happened to it. A lot of it was taken away by income tax. So whatever I could save, I tried to save it in a diligent way. I personally my father had some shares, but I was not too keen on investing in shares because with my day-to-day activities, which were very elaborate and a lot of work I had to do, I could not follow up the share market to that extent which is required. So I started believing more in mutual funds. Then I decided what is my risk factor, how much I should I should have safe investments, or where how much percentage I can put it for risk, etc., etc. So that's how I started saving and investing my money. Of course, I had wealth managers, and that's where this care manager idea came in. But yes, I think the doctors must decide what is, for example, what they want after 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. I know of some doctors who have not even filed income tax.
My God.
They are practitioners, but they don't want to pay tax. Everything comes in cash. So tomorrow when they want to buy a larger flat, they don't get housing loan.
This is primitive.
Yeah. So the problem is that they have to take proper advice. They have to first decide how they want to grow in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, how they want to do it for their children, what do they want to do, how to grow their capital. All this, no doctors are trained. No doctors have been taught. And good companies must tell them that this is what we advise and this is how you should go about doing things. For every doctor, it is important to have certain wealth created for variety of purposes. Like if they want to send their children abroad, they will be asked what is their net worth. So there are so many things, and they should be taught properly how to invest their money. I also know a lot of friends, colleagues who have invested in real estate where they have, lost their money, or they would have invested in stocks which somebody told them that you will become millionaire overnight, or this stock will double in 15 days, and they have lost money. So one should realize that you require 12% growth rate, 20% growth rate, or what is your estimate? You don't think of 100% growth rate. That happens once in a lifetime by a stroke of luck.
In fact, Dr. Nayan, you've really made my job easier as someone who takes care of doctors' money. You've brought a very important fact is that a doctor should understand his life goals. And like you've rightly said, that categorize your life goals in something which is short-term, 5, 10 years, something which is long-term, and some very sacred goals like sending your children abroad for higher studies. And for all that, you require very strong financials. So from filing of ITR to making your investments in different assets, whether it is equity, debt, real estate, gold, so having that right asset allocation. And also an important fact is that have a little kind of realistic expectation of returns. Like you rightly said, that anywhere between say 12 to 15% compounding can also create a lot of wealth in the long run. Instead of just chasing multi-baggers or very supernormal returns, which could be like a one-off kind of a phenomenon. So I guess some great insights to fellow doctors in terms of looking at money and having the right expectations. So just as a closing remark, your message to doctors who are trying to scale up, what do you feel are the key things which they need to keep in mind while they are scaling up?
I can only say that healthcare industry is one of the largest industry in the world. US is spending around 20% of their GDP on healthcare. India is going to go up to 9% over the next few years of time. So this is an industry where money is being spent. Now, how you want to capture that amount by giving out different services, different products, is up to you. Individually, you may not be able to do much, But if you unite, create corporation, come out together, exchange ideas, and become big, then you will probably become big. If you are looking at wealth creation, or also you are looking at valuation, I would just say that look at for an ophthalmologist, there you have an ophthalmic clinic, but you look at the valuation of Agarwal eye clinics, or you look at the valuation of Vasan eye clinics. So what did they do? I mean, same way, if you are a nursing home owner, come together. If you are practitioners, we all read in newspapers or through our colleagues that practices are sold. In US, we know that physicians' practices are sold and they made so much money. Why can't we do it in India? But for that, one has to unite. And I would be happy to impart more knowledge on this. If there are questions, you can forward them to me and I'll see that I reply to all.
I think this was a very amazing session where we learnt about understanding the customer centricity, understanding the importance of learning interdisciplinarity, understanding the importance of the elementary thing. That is, it's time to move on from a simple cash economy to a systematic ITR return filing and understanding the value of how the money grows. Last but not the least, we had an interesting chat about how never say no and how you keep learning and keep growing and keep finding better avenues to diversify into a system in the healthcare domain itself where people have never explored. And that is the secret of this Medical Monarch today, how we need to learn to keep on finding more ways to reach out to our end user, that is a healthcare worker and the healthcare receiver. I think it was an amazing interaction. We learned a lot from you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank both of you. I'm really happy. And what else?
So if you have any question for our Medical Monarch here, please write down in the chat box and we'll see to it that we forward it to him, and he has kindly obliged that he will look into it and try to help us more. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.